this will certainly hold your development back. So, evolution. Another nature explanation for our behavior is evolution. So, an example of an evolutionary behavioral explanation is Robert Trivers' parental investment theory. In this theory, he argues that males and females, broadly speaking, select different characteristics in members of the opposite sex. This is because of our biology, according to Trivers. Males produce virtually an unlimited amount of sperm throughout their life, and they remain fertile more or less right up until old age. Women, on the other hand, produce relatively fewer gametes. They remain fertile for a shorter period, perhaps a maximum of 40 years. And during that time, they therefore have a limited number of offspring they can produce compared to the men's potentially unlimited. So, men and women adopt different strategies. For a man, it makes sense to mate as often as possible with as many females as possible. Whereas for a woman, it makes sense to mate with a single partner who will invest heavily in your offspring. Males seek out younger mates because they're interested in fertility, and females seek out mates that have a greater ability to generate resources which they can then invest in their relatively limited offspring. This is supported by research by David Buss, who found that males do in fact prefer younger partners and females prefer slightly older and partners with better jobs. And he argues that this has evolved and is fairly consistent across cultures. However, one of the limitations of the evolutionary approach is the degree to which behaviour could also be culturally transmitted. So think about a cultural norm that young men are educated to prefer younger females, and therefore it's difficult to separate culture and genetics. It may even not be possible in many cases to untangle the relationship between nature and nurture. Nurture can affect nature in the form of epigenetics, for example. Nature can influence nurture in the fact that a child born with certain behavioural deficits or psychological issues may actually be responded to differently by their parents. I always like this paradox. Children who are placed in care for long periods of time tend to show more aggression. But could it be that if you're a parent of a more aggressive child, you feel less concerned about placing them in care, or you're more likely to do so? Diathesis stress is probably the correct answer, that we are predisposed to certain behaviours through genetic vulnerability. However, we need environmental stimuli to trigger them. Thank you very much for your time. Do not forget to complete the Socrative quiz, and I will see you in the next class with lots of questions. Bye bye.